Hello everyone, it's Miss Ruffle, welcome to my new video. Ever since the release of the compound bow Burden of Betrayal, many of you have been asking me to make a full HP build for it. Since you've been enjoying my previous full HP builds for different weapons, I'm happy to finally bring you one for the newest weapon in Once Human. This video is here because so many of you requested it. Now I have to admit something. I normally don't like bows or crossbows. I usually prefer firearms, so I wasn't expecting to spend much time with this weapon. But after testing it and refining the build, I have to say, I was pleasantly surprised. It's actually a lot of fun to play, and it delivers surprisingly good damage for a full HP setup. Where this build really shines, it's against groups of enemies. It clears packs of mobs incredibly fast, and I was especially impressed with how quickly it can wipe entire rooms in Nightmare Silos. I also tested it against several bosses. While it wouldn't be my first choice for dedicated boss farming, it can definitely get the job done. In fact, my best result was against Shadow Hound, where I managed to get a 27-second kill, the fastest Shadow Hound clear I've ever achieved. So, if you've been waiting for a full HP build for the Burden of Betrayal, let's jump right into it, and I'll show you exactly how I put this one together. Let's go. Let's start with weapons. The main weapon is Compound Bow, the Burden of Betrayal. The secondary weapon is AWS 338 Bullseye, or Bingo. This weapon is used mostly to mark enemies. Me, I don't use it all the time. In fact, I use it mostly for bosses when there is like a high HP target in front of me. The downside of this is that you need to switch to this weapon, you need to make a shot, and then you need to switch back to your bow. Sometimes it can be annoying. I'm not a big fan of switching weapons. As for melee weapon, you can use whatever you prefer. Me, most of the time, I have a stun button on me because it helps to activate a secret boss in the Securement file alpha. Next part, Calibrations. On my compound bow, the Burden of Betrayal, I use portable style calibration with crit rate attribute. On my bullseye sniper rifle, I use rapid shot style calibration with weak spot damage attribute. Now, weapon accessories. As you can see, there are no accessories available for the compound bow. For ammo, I'm using armor-piercing arrows. And on my sniper rifle, I use large break muzzle, large optic sight, tactical SR mag, and here I use sniper rifle AP ammo. Now let's talk about gear. As you know, I don't like breaking sets, and I usually use 4 pieces from the same set. So for this build, it will be Lone Wolf set. So I have Lone Wolf hat, Lone Wolf jacket, Lone Wolf gloves, and Lone Wolf shoes. As an offset piece, I'm using Bastille mask, because it's a full HP build, and this one piece gives weapon damage plus 10% when HP is above 70%. And now, key armor. As a key armor for my compound bow build, I'm using sharp blade pants. Here they are. Next part, mods. So, let's start with weapon mods. On my compound bow, the Burden of Betrayal, I have multi-bounce mod with bounce suffix. On my sniper rifle, I have vulnerability amplifier with the bullseye suffix. I saw that many people prefer using vulnerability amplifier with violent suffix, but me, after testing both, I preferred to use the bullseye suffix. On my Lone Wolf hat, I have first move advantage mod with violent suffix. On my Bastille mask, I have precision bounce mod with bounce suffix. On my Lone Wolf jacket, I have healing fortification mod with violent suffix. On sharp blade pants, I have critical surge with violent suffix. On my Lone Wolf gloves, I have crit amplifier mod with violent suffix. And on my Lone Wolf shoes, I have covered advance with violent suffix. Still here? Thank you. If this video has been useful, please leave a like. It really helps YouTube recommend it to more people. Share it with someone who might find it useful, and subscribe if you don't want to miss future guides, updates, and live streams. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can buy me a coffee. Every coffee helps me spend more time creating new content for you. Thanks for being here. And now let me show you the hides I used to make my gear. For Lone Wolf head, I used Valley Cow hide. For Bastille mask, I used Mountain Cow hide. For Lone Wolf jacket, I used Wasteland Wolf skin. For Sharp Blade pants, I used Wasteland Wolf skin as well. For Lone Wolf gloves, I used Starfall Crocodile skin. In fact, any other Starfall hides will work, because they will give Gravity Crystal yield plus 10%, which is really helpful now when Gravity Abyss Vision is active. But outside of this event, I would have probably picked Golden Wool. And for my Lone Wolf shoes, I used Wasteland Wolf skin. Next part, Cradle. So this is my Cradle. Precision Weapon Mastery, Rapid Aid, Tactical Combo, Deviant Energy Defense, Energy Surge, Deadly Combo, Marked Strike, and Bounce Rampage. Next part, Combat Deviation. Most of people prefer using Butterfly's Emissary, Deviation with Compound Bow, Burden of Betrayal. I have a nice butterfly, 5/5. So here I have Ancient Scroll trait, I have Glistening Blue trait, and I also have my favorite Moonlight Assault, so this is a nice butterfly. I tried using it, and I must admit that I just don't like it. Instead, I use this good boy, Lone Wolf's Whisper. I have it with 5/5 stats, with Bursting Magma trait, with Crack Shot, and Moonlight Assault, of course. And now the last part of my build, food and drink buffs. I play as chef, so I have double buffs, double hydration and energy buffs, so we can have 2 food and 2 drink buffs at the same time. So let's start with food buffs. First of all, I like using Crumbly Bread, because it increases all weapon damage by 25%. The second buff I'm using is Bone-In Deviated Sausage. I use it when I'm doing bosses, because it increases damage against bosses by 15%. I cook it with poultry meat, because poultry meat increases bounce damage. And you can use pristine poultry as well, if you have it. For milk, I choose different options according to the stock I have. But I like using buffalo milk, so this one or this one, because it boosts max HP, which is very good for full HP build. You can use goat milk as well, because it helps with sanity recovery, which is also great. If I'm not doing bosses, I use Stardust Pumpkin Salad, this dish, because it increases crit damage by 15%. The same for meat option, I go for poultry meat to boost bounce damage. So here are 3 buffs I'm using with my Compound Bow build. There is no dedicated food buff for bounce, so the only buff for bounce we can have, it's by eating food with poultry meat in it. So me, if I'm doing bosses, I'm using Bone-In Deviated Sausage and Crumbly Bread. If I'm not doing bosses, I'm using Crumbly Bread and Stardust Pumpkin Salad. So whatever combination I choose, this food and this food will always have poultry meat in it, so I will have 2% bounce damage bonus. If you want, you can also go for canned lunch meat option. First of all, because it increases max HP by 10%. So it's good for our full HP build. And you can cook it with poultry meat as well. So it will give you HP boost plus 10% and bounce damage bonus. But me, I prefer using these options. Now, drink buffs. As always, I use Stardust Tail with Deviated ingredient to boost my character's pollution resistance. And another buff I'm using is Whimsical Drink, this one, the one which gives 10% weapon damage bonus. So here are my food and drink buffs I'm using with my compound bow build. So that was my full HP build for compound bow, the Burden of Betrayal. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope it was helpful. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and see you in my next videos. Bye bye.